Been talking to some people recently about what we think Steve's full name is. And so I wanted to have a conversation about that and kind of expand a little bit on some cool name meaning things that I've noticed and share my cultural headcanons for both Steve and Eddie. So starting with Steve, the thing that kicked this off is that I noticed in Steve's admission essay that his grandfather's name is Otis. And so very quickly, the idea that his middle name is Otis planted itself in my head. In terms of the name Harrington, the thing I think is most interesting about that name is that the Harrington jacket is the name of the style of jacket that James Dean wears in Rebel Without a Cause. And so I think that's a really cool character thing. I've seen some really interesting headcanons on what his full first name is. Some people think it's just Stephen with a V. I tend to think it's Stephen with a PH, if only just because that's a little bit princely or something. But I've also seen some people headcanon that he's Italian on his mother's side and that his full name is Stefano. What I like is no matter what form, the name Stephen means crown. And for King Steve, that's really cool. And then whether we say that he's Italian on his mother's side and or Irish on his father's side, because Harrington is an Irish name, the important thing for me in terms of Steve's cultural background is that I really think he's Catholic. There's a lot of reasons why that is a compelling headcanon for me, not for this video. The one that matters here is the fact that if he's Catholic, he probably has a confirmation name. I was very quickly convinced in the comments of that last video that it was Christopher, so therefore I think his full name is Stefano or Stephen with a PH, Christopher Otis Harrington. And now switching tracks to Eddie, the thing that's interesting is that both Edward and Munson mean protector, which I think is a really sweet aspect to his character. Munson also means monk, which is interesting if we think about how isolated he is in this season. The other interesting thing about the name Munson is that it's a kind of Nordic name, which, given how much of Lord of the Rings is derived from Norse mythology, I think Eddie would really enjoy. But the cultural thing that's really important to me for Eddie is that I really headcanon that he's Jewish. Because of that, I headcanon that his middle name or his Hebrew name is something like Daniel or David, but mostly with that, I just really enjoy the community that I think that that would provide for Eddie. And what I mean by that is, like a lot of people, I headcanon that the Byerses are also Jewish, and I also think that Max is Jewish. One of my favorite aspects of season 4 was getting to see more of Max's relationship with Steve, and I've read some really good fics where we get to see Max's relationship with Eddie also existing prior to the season starting. And I just really like the idea of expanding that to them having a shared cultural heritage that maybe they don't get to express very much and can kind of find solace and community in each other. Yeah, that's a very brief overview on all of those backgrounds for those characters. I'd love to hear if people have similar thoughts or different thoughts or whatever. Just tell me what you think.